Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Perry Worldhouse. My name is Michael Horowitz, and I am the faculty director here, and you will only be stuck with me for a very short minute. Perry Worldhouse is the University of Pennsylvania's hub for global policy engagement. We bridge the gap between academia and the policy world, including fostering international engagement within and beyond the Penn community. And what better way to do that than by bringing leaders of the world here to share their views and experiences. We are extremely excited and honored to have the President of Namibia here with us today, and to formally welcome her. I wish to welcome here our own Dean of the Wharton School, Erica James. Erica James became the Dean of the Wharton School in 2020. She's a transformational leader and a substantive expert on crisis leadership, workplace diversity, and management strategy. She has paved the way for women in leadership, both in education and in corporate America. In addition to her academic responsibilities, she's a board member. She supports the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Kimmel Center, and cultural activities in the city of Philadelphia, and serves as an advisory board member to Tsinghua University's School of Economics and Management. Her latest book is The Prepared Leader: Emerge from Any Crisis More Resilient Than Before. I can think of no better person during such an enormously impactful geopolitical time to introduce today's conversation. So please help me welcome Dean James to the stage.
Good afternoon. It is a tremendous honor to welcome you to Penn and to Perry Worldhouse, and to welcome Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, President of the Republic of Namibia. We are also delighted to welcome the First Gentleman, Lieutenant General Epaphras Denga-Ndaitwah, and other distinguished guests, including the Honorable Selma Eshipala Musave, Minister of International Relations and Trade, and Ambassador Margaret Mensah Williams. Thank you all for joining us today. A global university engaged like Penn is replete with experts in African affairs, international relations, and democratic theory. So you might be asking yourself, why would they ask the Dean of the Business School to make this introduction of a head of state? Well, my perspective is a little different. At Wharton, our mission is rooted in expanding economic opportunity for all people. We also focus on preparing leaders who will shape our shared prosperity in the world. And when we think of prosperity, we must think about democracy. The two go hand in hand. Strong and durable democratic institutions are the foundation for broad, fair, and lasting economic growth. At Wharton, we also believe that strengthening both democratic norms and market-based principles are essential to building opportunity. Leaders like President Nandi-Ndaitwah, who defend these values, are doing more than governing well. They're laying the foundation for the kind of prosperity that lasts. Under Her Excellency's leadership, Namibia has seen economic growth through gas and oil, green technology, tourism, and support for small and medium-sized enterprises. This economic growth and improvement in quality of life for Namibians flows from market-based reforms, such as opening Namibia to private investment in extractives and renewables, encouraging private sector growth, and expanding higher education access to build a skilled workforce. As both a scholar and a practitioner of leadership, I deeply believe that leaders are both made and born. Leadership can be studied, it can be practiced, and it can be cultivated. Leadership is not just an individual phenomenon, but one that guides teams, organizations, and societies. And President Nandi-Ndaitwah exemplifies courageous, principled leadership. Her Excellency's leadership skills were tested early and often. She became involved in Namibia's independence movement as a young person. She spent 15 years in exile while working for her country's freedom. She has served as Minister of Women Affairs and Child Welfare, Minister of Environment and Tourism, and Minister of Foreign Affairs. She was deeply involved in the international negotiations that led to the landmark UN Security Council resolution on women, peace, and security, an achievement that continues to shape global policy. Now, as President of Namibia, the second woman ever elected head of state in Africa, she is leading with vision and resolve. Her priorities include improving education, expanding economic growth in energy, tourism, and green technology, supporting small and medium enterprises, and empowering youth. As educators and as leaders focused on global progress and prosperity, I am sure we can all applaud these priorities. I'm delighted that today's conversation will be led by Joseph Asunka. Joe arrived and has served as CEO of Afrobarometer since April 2021, and he previously was Program Officer in the Global Development and Population Program at the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, where he managed a portfolio of grants that support efforts to increase transparency and accountability in fiscal governance and foster citizen participation to improve public services in developing countries. Penn is also honored to have him as a non-resident senior advisor here at Perry Worldhouse. On behalf of the University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School, it is a privilege to welcome President Nandi-Ndaitwah. We celebrate her leadership, we learn from her example, and we are inspired by her commitment to democracy and the economic opportunity that we all seek to advance. Please join me in warmly welcoming Her Excellency, Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah.
Your Excellency.
Yes.
Nice to see you. And
you.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you all so much and good afternoon. Welcome to this session. My name is Joseph Asunka. I'm the head of the Afrobarometer. Afrobarometer is a Pan-African survey research project. We are working in about 40 countries. Namibia is one of our countries that we cover for many, many years. So it is my greatest honor, Madam President, to invite you to the podium for your opening remarks before we have a discussion. So thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Director of this sitting, the Pro Vice Chancellor, distinguished faculties, esteemed students, and I have to, it's a way of introduction, also recognize my delegation here, our Minister of International Relations and Trade, the First Gentleman of the Republic of Namibia, the Senior Advisor in the Office of the President, the ED of the Ministry of International Relations and Trade, Executive Director. Our ambassador is already known. Our honorable consul is already known. And we have the Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Investment Promotion Board. We have very important person in the delegation, a member of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the ruling party, and all members of the delegation present here. At the onset, on behalf of our delegation, I wish to extend our appreciation for the invitation extended to us to be here, and to me in particular, to address you today at the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League institution known not only for its academic excellency, but for its enduring commitment to global engagement and leadership. And I'm seeing it in the hall. This opportunity to engage with distinguished academic communities provides for a meaningful dialogue on the future of Africa and our shared global responsibilities. We are proud that a number of Namibians have walked the halls of this institution. Women and men who have gone on to serve with distinction in public and private sector. One of your students was one of the famed Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Mose Chitendero. Their success is a testimony of this university's global reach and the transformative power of education. Indeed, education remains the greatest equalizer all over the world. It is for this reason that the 8th administration of Namibia has adopted people-centered plans focusing on 7 strategic national priorities, supported by 8 critical economic enablers to ensure sustainable development. And the majority of these areas, they are around human-centered, with particular reference to the young people or the youth. And before I go into the details, let me remind ourselves that Namibia's post-independence journey since 1990 has been one of thriving constitutional democracy, anchored in respect for the rule of law, systems, process, institution, peace, and political stability. We have maintained a multi-party system, conducted regular constitutional grounded elections, and uphold the separation of power between the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Our judiciary is independent, our parliament is robust, and our government is driven by evidence-based policy, not expedience. This has earned Namibia recognition as one of the most stable democracies on the African continent. On the 21st March 2025, I was sworn in as the 5th democratically elected President of the Republic of Namibia. Marking another milestone in our maturing democracy. And since taking office, I've been saying that we in Namibia, we are too few to be poor. With a population of just over 3 million, our poverty is not a matter of scale. It's a matter of overcoming inequality as a legacy of apartheid colonialism. And it's for this reason that we have now identified 7 critical strategic priority areas supported by 8 critical economic enablers to ensure sustainable development. These 7 priority areas are agriculture, sports, youth empowerment, quality education and training, creative industry, quality health services, land, housing, and sanitation. And the enablers, because on their own, these critical areas will not be able to do anything. You need resources for you to invest in these areas. We then identify 8 enablers that will enable us to truly transform our economy. And these are mining. Namibia is a mining country. And we said mining must be the first enabler, and we must now change the way of doing business. Instead of our countries, Namibia and Africa in general, remain places for extraction and export raw material to other continents, which simply mean you are transporting the job of young Africans to other continents, leaving them with no choice but to follow their jobs, and when they go there, they are humiliated. Some even die in the high seas. So that's why mining is a big enabler. And of course, energy. You cannot do anything without energy, and we talk about mixed energy. Oil and gas is another area that has come in. Tourism, agriculture, and agriculture is both a priority area and enabler. It's important for food security, it's important for job creation. And in Namibia, we need jobs. More than 44.4% or 44.4% of Namibian young people, our statistics are telling us they are unemployed. So everything we are doing now is to create jobs. That's why we decided that during this administration, which I am heading, we need to create at least 500,000 jobs. Another sector, another enabler is water, fishery, transport, logistics, which also include infrastructure development. Those priorities and their enablers have been mainstreamed across our National Development Plan, NDP 6, which I had an honor to launch recently, and is aligned to the performance framework of all ministries and public institutions. They are not theoretical. They are measurable, time-bound, and people-focused. The overarching theme for the 8th administration is unity in diversity, natural resources beneficiation, youth empowerment for sustainable development. Because for too long, as I mentioned earlier, African nations have exported raw materials while importing value-added products at a high price. Namibia is committed to revising this trend through value addition and mineral beneficiation. We are rich in critical and strategic minerals, such as lithium, rare earth elements, uranium. We talk about mixed energy. Uranium is one of them, our natural resource, copper, and many others. Those are materials essential for the global green transition. However, we do not accept to continue being mere suppliers of raw material inputs for others to prosper. We are now seeking a strategic investment in local processing, refining, and manufacturing in partnership with global actors. The objective is clear: to ensure that the value of our resources benefits our people as it benefits exporter markets, meaning we will apply a fair sharing benefit between the Namibian economy and the foreign investors, a fair. We are also developing policies that integrate beneficiation into local supply chain, skills development, and technological transfer, with special focus on youth employment and women-owned enterprise, including in the mining value chain. I'm emphasizing this because for too long, this sector has been reserved. This is economic transformation with intent and with tangible impact to the communities where such investments are located. Namibia demonstrated that gender equality and leadership excellency are not only mutual exclusive, they are mutual reinforcing. Namibia is proud to be a leader in gender inclusive governance. Today, the President, the Vice President, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Secretary General of the ruling SWAPO party are all women. Additionally, 50% of the cabinet members are women. And I have to tell you, this is a process. It's not that something designed, and it's not just to say women, we are talking women of substance. I say for us to be in leadership, it's not a favor. I'm not favored. It's because the people of Namibia see the value on me. And And really, I believe deep in me that they were not voting for a woman. They were voting for Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, whom they know what she can do for their country. So, therefore, we in Namibia have moved beyond mere representation to substantive empowerment with gender-responsive budgeting, legal reforms, and dedicated support for women in agriculture, enterprise, and leadership. We recognize that gender equality is a developmental multiplier. As no society can reach its full potential while half of its population is held back. And there's no scientific evidence to say that women should remain behind. There's nothing like that. Africa is home to the world's youngest population, with over 60% under the age of 2025. By 2050, we will comprise nearly a third of the world youth. This youth projection to us in Africa is not a burden. It's a generational opportunity. We are taking it as a generational opportunity. However, to unlock this demographic dividend, we must invest in the right fields. And that's why there I talked about education and training is very key. And as a continent, we have also to look at digital and the creative economies, and entrepreneurship and employment, and youth political inclusion to be included in politics and in leadership development. When you read AU Agenda 2063, you will find that there is a special chapter focusing on the empowerment of the youth in the African continent. Education and training, entrepreneurship is emphasized in that particular chapter. That is why youth empowerment is one of our national priorities. Africa is not merely navigating change, we are shaping it by building institutions that are strong than individual and foster a leadership culture based on merit, inclusion, and service. One of them is the African University. And I'm happy to inform you that the current president of the African University is the Vice Chancellor of the Namibian University. We are making our contribution to Africa's development. Africa stands at the point of historical transformation. This transformation requires a new kind of leadership grounded on ethics, competency, and collaboration. We are guided by the African Union Agenda 2065, which invests in Africa that is prosperous, integrated, and led by its citizens. Africa must be led by its citizens. And Namibia is committed to realizing this vision by building strong institutions, promoting intra-Africa cooperation, and supporting regional peace and stability. Another important area is the operationalization of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which marks a turning point in Africa's economic future. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is not merely a trade engagement, it's a platform for industrialization, value addition, and intra-Africa opportunity. Namibia is leading in this endeavor, and recently we exported 45 tons of salt to Nigeria under this program. We are engaging also with our local communities as well as other institutions in the country, including the private sector, so that together we can build a strong Africa and a strong Namibia. We seek American universities, including this university, as a natural, we see the American universities, including this university, as a natural partners in our development journey. We invite you to engage with Namibian universities, youth innovators, and research institutions to co-create solutions and benefit both our nations. To the students gathered here, you are not only witness the future, you are its architect. We urge you to engage with African and Namibians in particular as strategic partners, a source of innovation, and a continent of the future. We are ready to lead, and we welcome partners who are ready to walk along with us. Democracy, gender equality, and leadership are not separate pursuits, they are interdependent. They form the bedrock of a just, peaceful, and prosperous society. Together with you as our partners, we can deliver on our commitment as a continent that is ready to lead and to take care of its citizens. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. This has been inspiring. I think I started off by writing out a number of questions, and I've realized that you've almost answered all my questions, but I'll still ask a number of questions. And I know from the audience, my colleague David and others are passing around cards. If you have a question from what Madam President has spoken about, please feel free, jot it down, and I'll read it to her for her response. So we'll get a sampling of questions from the floor. But I'm going to start from my side. As I mentioned, my name is Joseph Asunka. I'm the CEO of Afrobarometer. Afrobarometer is a Pan-African survey organization. We operate in about 40 countries, and I was really happy to hear, Madam, what you've just presented in terms of the areas of priority, because the findings we are getting from Afrobarometer over the past 26 years has consistently been touching on some of these issues where African citizens continue to mention some of these items as the areas that they want their governments to concentrate on. So as I thought about our interaction, my first point was, well, where do I start? And I said, well, let's go back to the beginning. So you joined the SWAPO party very early on in your life. Some records have it that you joined the SWAPO party around the age of 14. I think that's the age some of us could not even think about ourselves. And you started to already think about your country beyond yourself. At that tender age, what was the motivation? What motivated you to want to be part of this struggle right from that tender age?
You know, as a human being, we are always influenced by what is around us. So I have grown up in rural Namibia, and a big family of 13 children. And you have those who become now contract workers. And those of us who are staying home, especially our elders, they go for a contract worker. Now you have your brother, an elder brother, who go for 9, 18 months, and when the brother comes back, offers nothing to the family. On the day of arrival, you can have tea and bread, and that is it. And you start feeding this person from what you have worked on as a family. And then now the whole issue became is because of the colonial system which is in the country. And that's how we have to raise up and then start to be part of the young people group discussions. And that is how I started, and then got my first SWAPO card in 1966. So that's how it's the surrounding that made me to join the party. I say I have also to be part of the process to fight for Namibia's independence.
Thank you for that background. I think that is really inspiring and helpful for us to get that context. Of course, historically, as you mentioned here, on March 21st, 2025, you were sworn in as the first female president of Namibia. But beyond that, of course, you've held several portfolios as minister. I think for us at Afrobarometer, some of the data that we collect on the continent, as I mentioned, Namibia is part of the countries that we survey. And what we will normally do is ask African citizens about their governments, to appraise their government, but also to tell us what their priorities are. All right, and so some of the data that we do have show that Africans are strongly supportive of women in politics. Majority of Africans, including majority of Namibians, say that women should have the same chance of being elected into political office. So there's broad support for women's political leadership on the continent. But then majority of the respondents also tell us that they are concerned because whenever a woman stands for political office, they are either harassed or they face name calling and they face other obstacles in their process of becoming political leaders. And so even though Africans are supportive of women leaders, they also struggle with this issue where women tend to be harassed when they want to stand for political leaders. What will you tell a young 18-year woman who has political ambitions but is afraid of these kinds of backlash from the public?
Changes are always, there's always fear when there are changes. And those who are afraid of the change, they will always find a way how they can bring that pushback. But what is important is also to understand, it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing which is affecting both men and women because that idea of holding women back is not only held by men, it's also held by women themselves. Okay. And it's cultural, it is traditional, but remember, that has not been the only traditional and the cultural norms in the history of mankind. There's quite a number of cultural norms that have been changed. Now, the danger will only be if there are no people who are ready for change. But now in the issue of women empowerment, there are women who are ready for change, There are men who are ready for change, and that's why we are seeing these changes. And it comes with, it's a process. It's really, it does not just come like that. My own experience is that when you are serving there alone, in fact, you learn more. You learn more because your colleagues, sometimes they forget you are there. Completely forget that you are there. And if you know what you are heading to in life, because like myself, I've been always a prominent of women empowerment. And I had been given chances. In 71-3, when the SWAPO Youth League was formed in Namibia, after the party had set up wings, I was fortunate to be elected as the chairperson of the SWAPO Youth League in northern Namibia. And that gave me an upper hand of organizing everything. And I'm telling you, I have seen many other women coming on board because they are being motivated, they are being empowered. And 74 or 73, when there was mass arrest in Namibia for political activities, we were more than 8 women who were arrested in one day together with our counterpart, the men. So all these things are strengthening you in the process. When I came into exile, SWAPO had a chief representative in more than 30 countries, and I found myself to be the only woman chief representative during that time. And you were learning, and you try to be closer to other women. You try to be closer to other women. Then you have structures where you have women leaders, the pioneers, the SWAPO pioneers. Sorry, my Minister of International Relations. As a young leader of the SWAPO pioneers, and then she grew that up to the point where she is today. There are many of them. So those pushbacks will be there, but you have those who do not take them, and then they are making success. And like where I am, I can tell you in all sincerity, it's not credit going to Netumbo. It's not credit going to Netumbo at all. It's a credit going to the women of Namibia and to a certain extent to the women of Africa and to the women of the world. They built this person. African women, they invested in Netumbo. When we were preparing for the 4th World Conference on Women, Beijing Conference, they appointed me, that time I was a Minister of Women Affairs, and they appointed me to be the chief negotiator on behalf of Africa on the Beijing platform. When I became the Minister for Environment and Tourism, we were discussing the Nagoya Protocol on genetical resources. Again, the whole of Africa, not just women. They appointed me to be their chief negotiator. So that's why I say the credit will not come to me. When we went to the Beijing, the whole world, they made they've all agreed, consensus was reached, say making Netumbo the rapporteur general of the Beijing conference. So it's not something really that I have to celebrate. There's quite a lot of people who invested on me and bring me where I am. And there are other women who are also invested on, as you are seeing here, the ambassadors, the ministers, the chief executive officers, the advisors, and so many. In Africa, our first elected woman is Helen Sirleaf of Liberia, and we all invested on her. So no one really can do it alone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I think this just inspires me a lot. I'm hoping that the popular commitment to women leadership on the continent translates into the case where people see the need to support women to be at the forefront. And I like the point you made about the fact that you are leading with substance. This is not just tokenism where you say you want to have women in power, but that the women who actually make it to those positions are women of substance who know what they are doing and they can lead the way. But certainly the type of support you're describing, I think, is super important to think about. As people want women to get into more leadership roles, it is important that they get this kind of support that you have gotten throughout your journey. But that brings me to one particular issue that we have been facing on the continent and what we've been gathering from Afrobarometer. So one of the questions we asked to MOOC Africans across 40 countries is, what is the most important women's rights issue that you think your government should address? And the top issue that came up is gender-based violence. We surveyed in about 39 countries, and in 21 of those countries, gender-based violence was seen as the most important issue that they want their government to address. And this includes Namibia. Because in Namibia, we had about 52% of Namibians saying that they want their government to address gender-based violence. I know that you were, as a Minister for Women Affairs, there was the passage of this act, especially the 2003 Violence Against Women's Act, and especially the protection of children and spouses. What has been the progress of Namibia to date, and what, as President of Namibia, are you putting in place to address this issue, which Africans think is a big issue for them?
You know, you are right that gender-based violence is a serious problem in Africa and in the world. Yeah. So it's really not just an African problem. Yeah. Gender-based violence is a world problem. And each country has to develop their strategies, but the biggest problem is mind change. Okay. Because if people think being a woman president, you are now in a better position to address gender-based violence, we have to find ourselves, how does gender-based violence come about? And who are the perpetrators? So we must go deeper and find out what is the problem. And we have now realized that in the process we have been talking, I'm one of those because I'm a women activist, and I've been really advocating for women empowerment, the girl child, and everything. And it seems this focus is making our boy child aggressive. Maybe the boy child now is feel I'm neglected, no one on my side, they are on their own, they are unguided, and we decide in Namibia, let us go to the basics, because it's a process, and let us now start bring on board the boy child. And I'm happy because the first gentleman in Namibia now is having specific programs which are focusing on the boy child. Have discussions. Yeah, have discussions with them. Let them feel they are being taken care of. And when they are now appearing in some of the talk show, you can see how they are opening up. So one is really hoping that moving forward, the future generation, we may reduce gender-based violence, because now both girls and boys, they are growing up with a certain level of respect. Because what is happening now is like one is forcing your power on another one. Because you say, you feel you are now empowered, I have to show that you are not empowered. So that's why there is that approach in as far as in Namibia is concerned. You can use the police, you can do everything, but it's to liberate the minds of the people. That we find to be the best weapon to fight gender-based violence.
Right. I couldn't be more impressed by this fact of going back to the roots and thinking about the root cause as opposed to tackling the symptoms, because it's one thing tackling the symptoms, but going to a root cause is certainly super critical. So thank you for that. Of course, I'm going to get quite a number of questions from here, but I have one last question to ask you, and then I'll take a sampling of some of the questions from the audience. So I'll be remiss if I don't talk about this. I know the provost asked you about your cabinet, and when you came into power, as you mentioned, you reduced the number of cabinet ministers, and your appointments ended up having more women in the cabinet than in history of Namibia. So a two-part question I want to ask you. One, how did this come about? And then secondly, what do you see different about this cabinet compared to, apart from the gender majority or the women majority, when working with other cabinets, and you have sat in several cabinets as vice president and also as minister, what do you see to be different about this cabinet compared to the prior cabinets? So if you can take the first one, how it came about as majority in cabinet, as women, and then the issue about, what is different about this cabinet?
How it came about to be a majority, I don't think if it's anyone can explain it, including myself. I cannot explain. But I want to believe that over the years, Namibia has created a pool of competent men and women. I have to tell you that the ruling party, SWAPO, has even amended its constitution and to incorporate gender equality, whereby we say in every party structure, they should be 50-50. So that's why even the top four, and the party, which is the president, the vice president, secretary general, deputy secretary general, you always find two men in whatever. There's no, it doesn't matter as long as they cannot be more than, they should be just two. But other structure, like parliament, is a zebra. A man, a woman, a man, a woman, and the central committee. And that process really has made it possible to have a pool of women leaders. In the state-owned enterprise, our laws, every time we say when you are appointing 7 board members, not more than 4 should be of the same gender. So again, you are making equality. And this see now many women coming in. So when I have now to form the cabinet, it's now a cabinet of 14 ministers. I was just looking at different skills. Now you combine this one, in this one you need this skill, then you say, oh, there's this one. I was looking basically at the skills and the names, and not to say man, woman, or whatever. So that's what happened. I came the day of inauguration came. They were sitting in front of there. I realized, oh, what is happening here? So it just came. Now, the difference, more efficient, because they are few, and you'll be discussing things in a short time. Everybody bring their view, sharp to the point, and you go and do other things. Again, because they are few, the networking is really manageable in a way. if you are now to talk about international relations and trade, I don't need to call in two ministers. I have one minister, and you see the link. Trade is trade between Namibia and the other countries. So if you have international relation and trade separately, they will step on each other, and sometimes one does know which one and which one. So I'm seeing some more efficient. There has been efficiency. I've been in cabinet since, not in government, because my first appointment in the government was a deputy minister of foreign affairs. So this is not a cabinet, but I can sit in there when my minister is not there. Okay. So, but I can say in the cabinet. So there's more efficiency. The coordination is made easy because you are few, and everybody wants to perform really. That in Namibia now they are saying my young ministers are competing. That's what they are saying. But they are doing very well because it's a mix of women, not just women, but young people also. So there's that mix. And they say, your young ministers are really competing. I say, health competition is allowed. It's allowed. So there's efficiency.
Thank you for that. I'm sure maybe other African governments and presidents can learn from your approach. Now talking about young people and young ministers, there is one colleague in the audience here who is asking, if you are a Namibian American, born here as a Namibian American, a young, enthusiastic student who wants to play a role in Namibian politics, does your government have any room for people like that, born here, citizens here, but who want to play a role back in Namibia?
Yes, we have them. They can play a role in Namibia. There are some who can be naturalized. There are some who can remain what they are, can play a role in our economy. They can, of course, when it comes to politics, the Constitution is very clear. You have to, for example, to be in parliament, there is an age requirement and Namibian citizenship. It does not matter whether you are a Namibian by birth or you're Namibian by naturalization, as long as you are a Namibian. So, but generally, there is room for people to play a role in Namibia.
Okay. Thanks so much. And I mean, these questions are really interesting. I'm glad that they're coming from students from here. So proud to be, a senior advisor in this Perry World House, which is a great place to be. But somebody is asking how you manage investments that come from different countries. So investment from the United States and investment from, say, China. How do you deal with, that varied kind of investment climate?
Foreign investment is governed by the same law. And for us, we look at investment that is addressing our needs, okay, and investment that is complementing what we are doing, and an investment that's governed by our laws, okay, and our policies and our constitution. So those are the qualifications in as far as who can do an investment in Namibia. And an investment where should there be partnership, it should be really true partnership, right, between the investor and the Namibian people. Whether it's coming from wherever, those are the criteria to be met.
All right. Thank you for that.
We are part of the global village.
Yes, absolutely. And you also talked about the issue of youth job creation, and I'm mindful of the time. I want to end with this question and one last question from the audience about the young people and job creation. Of course, you had mentioned about 500,000 jobs. You prioritize the agriculture sector and other sectors. And you've made it clear why you are prioritizing those areas. But I'm just wondering, in terms of external investment into these spaces, what are you doing to facilitate that? Because I know external investment into these sectors can be very valuable in helping to create the number of jobs that you are seeking. What mechanisms are you putting in place to facilitate foreign investment into the sectors that you have prioritized?
Yeah, first as a government, we have set ourselves to improve on the environment in order to make a friendly environment for investment. In terms of our procedures, because there is quite a lot, it entails a lot for one to invest. First, the registration, we have to make them easy. Getting permissions, we have to make them easy. While we will not really compromise to allow people who are not really interested in investing, but just want an opening to live in Namibia, and maybe at the end of the day, become a burden when one has come in to say you are an investor. So we want things really to be done in a way that each one will be accepted in accordance to what you want. Our laws, I've mentioned, they have to be respected. Currently, we are busy finalizing our local content policy, particularly that we have now oil and gas, which is discovered. And once the policy is finalized, it's going to be, a law will be worked on. But this does not mean investors cannot come now. Our laws in place can still be used. So we will now speed up the one-stop shop so that an investor, when you come to Namibia, you enter into one room, and that's where you get all the services that you require. Because besides registering a company, you need, we have a very strong environmental law. And, our environment is very fragile, and we have to take care of it. So you find that most of economic activities, there is a need of environmental clearance. So we need to speed up those things, that it does not take a whole year before you get to environmental clearance, or before you get an answer to say where you want to invest is a fragile area, and we do not allow this type of activities unless you go there and you do these specific activities. Because we have also the responsibility, our constitution is very clear, to protect the environment, that the Namibian government must put in place laws and policies to protect the environment and to ensure sustainable utilization of the Namibian biodiversity for the current and future generation. So that's why that's law is very important.
And I think this is sound like music to the ears of Perry World House, because climate change, environment is a huge research portfolio for this institute here. So I'm hoping that there'll be some partnerships going on, and that from your office, they will get that kind of support where you can build a strong research relationship both with Namibian academics and universities, but also young Namibians who are into the space of doing research and analysis in the climate change, environmental governance space. So
I'm really inviting you for that. Have a partnership in the area of health. Namibians are laughing because they know that environment is something which is too closer to my heart.
Okay.
So please, I welcome that research. I want research on agriculture, research on environment, research on health, research on technology. If you can take that, it will be very helpful for us.
of course, and of course, University of Pennsylvania being what it is, all these areas you've mentioned are areas that are heavily researched in this school. So I'm sure they'll be more than happy to take you on. My final question, and then we can leave, is what somebody asked, one young person asked, what can Namibians teach the rest of the world about resilience and unity, given your own long political struggle?
Unity is strength. Resilience is power. So it's because of unity and resilience that Namibia finds itself where we are today. Because we had a very, very rough history, colonial history.
Yeah.
We experienced apartheid, we experienced genocide, but because we remain united and resilient, we are a strong nation.
All right, I think we could have spent the entire day talking about everything, but really I want to say a big thank you to Madam President. We're really appreciative of the fact that you spend this amount of time with us. We very value your time so much. And Perry World Heart, the Wharton School, certainly would be big fans of you. We'll continue to think of ways that we can engage with your government and also Namibians to continue to advance our shared objectives. And of course, the Perry World House and the leadership, really grateful to all of you for the amazing work and putting all this together. I can't thank you all enough. So thank you all for coming, and we wish you all the best.